Chapter 8 The Creature's Request. Such was the history of my beloved cottagers. It impressed me deeply. As yet, I looked upon crime as a distant evil. Goodness and kindness were ever present before me. I longed to become an actor in the busy scene where such good qualities were displayed. One night, while I was in the forest collecting wood and food, I found on the ground a leather bag. Inside it were several pieces of clothing and some books. I brought the bag back to my hovel. Fortunately, the books were written in the same language I had been learning. I can hardly describe the effect these books had on me. As I read, I compared myself to the characters in the books. I found myself similar, yet at the same time strangely unlike these characters. I depended on nobody, and I related to nobody. Who was I? What was I? Where had I come from? Where was I going? These questions continually came up, but I was unable to solve them. When I finished reading these books, I remembered some papers I had found earlier. They were in the pocket of the clothing I had taken from your laboratory. At first, I had neglected them, but now that I was able to read, I began to study them carefully. It was your journal of the 4 months just before my creation. You described in these papers every step you took in your work. I am sure you remember these papers. Here they are. Every word in them tells about my accursed beginning. All the details of those disgusting circumstances are given. I sickened as I read them. Hateful day when I received life, I exclaimed in agony. Accursed Creator, why did you form a monster so hideous that even you turned from me in disgust? God, in pity, made humans beautiful in his own image, but my form is a filthy copy of yours. Even Satan had his companions, fellow devils, to admire and encourage him, but I am alone and hated. This is what I said when I was alone. Then, when I thought about the goodness of the cottagers, I persuaded myself that they would welcome me. I believed that they would overlook my personal deformity. Could they turn from their door one, however monstrous, who wanted their compassion and friendship? I decided not to give up hope, but to get myself ready for a meeting with them. This meeting would decide my fate. I put this off for a few months because I was afraid that I would fail. Besides, I found that I was learning so much each day. I thought that a few more months would make me much wiser. Several changes in the meantime took place in the cottage. The presence of Safi brought not only happiness, but also greater material wealth than before. Felix and Agatha spent more time talking and having fun and were assisted in their work by servants. They did not appear rich, but they were happy and peaceful. I, on the other hand, became every day more upset. The more I learned, the more I could see what a wretched outcast I was. I had hope, it is true, but it vanished when I saw my reflection in water. I tried to put my fears aside, but it was difficult. I was alone. I remembered reading about Adam's prayers to his Creator, but where was mine? He had abandoned me. Bitterly, I cursed him. Summer changed to autumn, and autumn became winter. As I watched the cottagers, I saw that their happiness was not decreased by the absence of summer. They loved each other, and their joys were with each other. The more I saw them, the more I wanted to claim their protection and kindness. My heart yearned to be known and loved by these friendly creatures. I was wise enough to realize that my ugliness was the chief object of horror with those who had seen me before. My voice, though harsh, was not terrible. I thought, therefore, that it would be best to speak to the old man first when he was alone. One day, Safi, Agatha, and Felix went out for a walk. The old man, at his own desire, was left alone in the cottage. When his children had gone, he took up his guitar and played several sad but sweet airs. At first his face was lit up with pleasure, but as he continued, sadness came over him. At length, laying aside the instrument, he sat absorbed in thought. My heart beat quickly. This was the hour and moment of trial that would decide my hopes or realize my fears. The servants were gone to a neighboring fair. It was an excellent opportunity. I approached the door of the cottage and knocked. "Who is there?" said the old man. "Come in." I entered. "Pardon me for bothering you," I said. "I am a traveler in want of a little rest. I would appreciate it if you would let me sit before your fire." "Of course," said De Lacy. Unfortunately, my children are not here, as I am blind. I am afraid I cannot get any food for you. Do not trouble yourself, my kind host. I have food. It is warmth and the rest only that I need. You speak French, said the old man. Are you French? No, I said, but I was educated by a French family. I am now going to claim the protection of some friends whom I dearly love. These people have never seen me. In fact, I have no relation or friend on earth. I am full of fears, for if I fail there, I am an outcast in the world forever. Where do these friends live? Near this spot. Tell me your story. Perhaps I can help you. I am blind and cannot judge your face, but something in your words tells me that you are sincere. Excellent man, I thank you. From your lips first have I heard the voice of kindness directed toward me. Your kindness assures me of success with those friends I am about to meet. Who are these friends? I paused. This was the moment of decision. Just then I heard the steps of the young people. I had not a moment to lose. I seized the hand of the old man and cried, Now is the time. Save and protect me. You and your family are the friends I seek. Great God, exclaimed the old man, who are you? At that instant the cottage door was open, and Felix, Safie, and Agatha entered. Who can describe the horror on their faces? Agatha fainted, and Safie ran out of the cottage. Felix began to strike me violently with a stick. I could have torn him limb from limb, but I did not. Overcome by pain and anguish, I ran from the cottage and escaped to the woods. What a miserable night I passed! Not a single person existed who would pity or help me. Should I feel kindness toward my enemies? No. From that moment, I declared everlasting war against this species, and more than all, against you. I had learned from your papers that your home was in Geneva. Toward this place, I directed my steps. Geography was among the lessons that Felix had taught Safie. I knew, therefore, that Geneva was southwest of where I was. I used the sun as my only guide, for I could not ask directions from a single human being. My travels were long and my sufferings intense. I could travel only a night, and I found no shelter. The closer I got to Geneva, the more deeply I felt the spirit of revenge in my heart. One incident happened along the way that made me even angrier. Spring was beginning to warm the earth. One morning it was so beautiful that I decided to continue my journey even after the sun had risen. The loveliness of the sunshine cheered me, reviving long-dead emotions of gentleness and pleasure. Suddenly I heard the sound of voices, so I hid myself behind a tree. A young girl came running toward the spot where I was hidden. She was laughing as if she ran from someone in sport. She continued along the steep sides of the river when her foot slipped and she fell into the rapid stream. I rushed into the river and saved her. Suddenly a man approached, probably the person from whom she had playfully fled. On seeing me, he ran toward me, tore the girl from my arms, and ran toward the woods. Then he turned around, aimed a gun at me, and fired. I sank to the ground, and the man escaped into the woods. This, then, was my reward for saving a human life. Inflamed by pain, I vowed eternal hatred and vengeance to all humankind. It took several weeks for my wound to heal, and then I continued my journey. I reached Geneva 2 months later. It was evening when I arrived, and I hid in the fields surrounding the city. I began to plan how I would approach you. Just then, a beautiful child came running nearby with all the joy of childhood. Suddenly, as I gazed on him, an idea came to me. This little creature had no prejudices. He was too young to have developed a horror of deformity. If, therefore, I could seize him and educate him as my companion and friend, I would not feel so alone. So I seized the boy as he passed and drew him toward me. As soon as he saw me, he screamed. I said, Child, what is the meaning of this? I will not hurt you. Listen to me. He struggled violently. Let go, monster, ugly wretch. You wish to eat me and tear me to pieces. Let me go, or I will tell my papa. Boy, you will never see your father again. You must come with me. Hideous monster, let me go. My papa is Frankenstein. He will punish you. Frankenstein, you belong then to my enemy. You shall be my first victim. The child still struggled and screamed. I grasped his throat to silence him. In a moment, he lay dead at my feet. I gazed at my victim, and my heart filled with triumph. This will indeed cause my enemy great misery, I thought. As I looked at the child, I saw something glittering from a ribbon around his neck. It was a portrait of a most lovely woman. For a few moments I gazed with delight on her beauty, but soon my rage returned. I remembered that I was forever deprived of the delights that such beautiful creatures could bring. Then I left the spot where I had committed the murder. Looking for a hiding place, I entered a barn that I thought was empty. When I got inside, I saw a young woman sleeping on some straw. She was not as beautiful as the one whose portrait I held, but she was blooming in the loveliness of youth and health. Here, I thought, is one of those who would smile on all but me. I bent over her and whispered, "Awake, fairest, your lover is near. He who would give his life for just one friendly smile from you. My beloved, awake." The sleeper stirred. A thrill of terror ran through me. Would she awake, see me, curse me, and reveal me as the murderer? Surely she would do so, if her eyes opened and she saw me. Then I thought, not I, but she shall suffer. She shall be blamed for the murder I committed. Thanks to the lessons of Felix, I knew something about the law and how it worked. I bent over her and placed the portrait securely in one of the folds of her dress. She moved again, and I fled. For some days I stayed near this place. At times I wished to see you. At other times I made up my mind to quit the world and its miseries forever. At length I wandered toward these mountains, consumed by a burning passion that you alone can fulfill. We may not part until you have promised to grant my request. I am alone and miserable. No person will associate with me. One as deformed and horrible as I am would not deny herself to me. My companion must be like me, with the same defects. This being you must create.